Fred? Good evening, everybody. We are opening the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for September 19th, 2018. And the first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from the last meeting, which was August 15th, 2018. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
And I know there's been some corrections. Thank you again, Tim, and others. The minutes that have been provided this evening, does anybody have any corrections, questions, concerns? Okay, if I'm hearing none, I make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes for August 15th, 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, carried. All right, we have 4 new matters on this evening, and the first one appears to be Baden. Here's somebody here for that?
Yeah.
Warren. Okay, you know what to do. Basically what we do here, just for the rest of the gang, if you haven't been a part of this, is we're reviewing the applications to see if they're sufficient. And if we feel they're sufficient, then we'll accept them and we'll set a public hearing date. What we would ask you to do is to go up to the microphone to my left and speak, announce yourself, speak slowly and articulately, and we'll probably be asking.
So this property address is 145 Wurtemberg Road, and it's approximately an 8-acre parcel in the RC5 zone. There is an existing residence for the north end of the parcel and a small barn to the north of that. And then south of the residence is a barn that was converted to an office and for use for quite a number of years as the offices of Grant and Lyons attorneys. Wayne Maiden would now like to subdivide this 8-acre parcel into 2 parcels, and I think his intent is probably to sell the residence, the large residence, for him to himself at this point, his kids are grown, and support great as a seat, and to turn the barn, the former barn, the office, into a residence for himself. The office barn has its separate septic system, designed and approved quite some years ago by the county health department, and we support a new 3-bedroom residence. That isn't that, but the barn, the office does have a bathroom in it. I'm sure it'll need a full bath and it'll need a kitchen, so forth. But the purpose of this application is we're in a zone that allows a subdivision of a parcel of less than 10 acres. As long as you have at least 6 acres in this zone, you can subdivide one time your parcel into 2 parcels. One has to be at least 3 acres, and the other is the remainder. So in this case, the intent is to create a parcel of 3 acres for the residents, and to have the balance of the parcel, 4 acres, being the barn/office. It will be converted to a residence. So there will be basically 2 single-family residences on 2 adjacent parcels. The reason we are before the zoning board is because when we put a lot line, proposed lot line, right between the 2 buildings, we have less than the required minimum 50-foot setback from both of those buildings to the proposed lot line. Now, the lot line selection is somewhat arbitrary. Putting it smack between the 2 buildings is not essential. And if we moved it a little bit one way or the other, we might do only 1 variance. We did 50 feet. Or a lesser variance possible, and I can see right away that we can move the proposed lot line slightly, still meet the minimum threshold for each parcel, and just have 1 variance if that matters to you in your deliberations.
And even if we go with the plan,
You would need at least 1 variance.
well,
Right. It's not significant. So if we
what I'm
split
getting at.
it,
There's
right.
just a couple.
If we split it as shown, I think we have 47.8 feet on one parcel and 48.5 on the other. So we're quite close to 50 in both cases,
Right.
but a little shy. And it's simply based on the location of 2 existing structures that will remain.
Questions? I don't have any questions. To me, it's pretty straightforward what you're requesting, but I'll let the rest of the gang take a look.
No question.
I guess I have a question for our attorney, if I may.
Certainly.
John, aside from the variance requested, I guess I'm thinking this is not a terribly smart way to do a subdivision, and I'm sort of wondering in the long term about, well, the short term about impacts to value, and then the long term about just the strangeness of this configuration with a, you know, they're essentially two flag lots turned on their sides. It just seems strange to me that you've got, you know, a lot of very thin frontage along Route 9G, and then you've got two houses that are going to be right up against each other. So maybe that's none of our business? Is that what our council will tell us?
Well, the separation, the separation between the buildings goes to the heart of the variance, but the buildings are in existence. I mean, why don't you let Warren address your concerns, and I'm sure that this wasn't a random design, so.
No, obviously it wasn't. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to address that question. When a surveyor sets out to subdivide a property, they look to meet the minimum standards, obviously, for the remaining parcels. And so we knew we had to have one parcel of at least 3 acres, and the other could be the remainder. We could do 4 and 4. So that obviously, there's a little bit of leeway there. But certainly the wishes of the owner, the client, are taken into account. And it was Wayne's preference that this sort of buffer along Route 9, if you will, which slopes down from the property here, since both buildings face Wurtemberg Road, essentially, that should remain with the house, which is kind of interesting because it makes the house from 9G appear to have a larger parcel. But it doesn't really matter because this isn't really developable land. We had to take into consideration where the septic system was for each building. And so we were fine with that. But to make this parcel any larger, so if we wanted to make 4 and 4 instead of 3 and 5, we'd have to just kind of stretch this even more. So it's basically, here's this building with its septic system, there's this house with its septic system. There's really not any other less illogical way, if you will, I think, to subdivide these 2 parcels and meet the criteria for a minimum of 3 acre on at least one of the parcels.
Right, so you couldn't draw that straight across, I guess is what.
Well, without getting a variance for the size of one of the lots.
I guess that's where I was going.
Trying not to do that, right.
That variance might be an alternative to this variance.
We would still actually need the side setback variances, but that would,
Right, but
that
those are
would
minimal,
be.
right? Those are
Right.
almost trivial.
Right, but it's true, we could ask
Again,
for a
I'm
reduction. Right.
trying to figure out whether that's any of our business in any case.
Well, no, it's a fair question. It's just, if we go back to the criteria that you all consider of giving the minimum variance necessary, suggesting that we then apply for variance to reduce the lot size seems to be going in the other direction. Now we need another variance.
And I think maybe what Dave's getting to, the character of the neighborhood and all that kind of stuff, but I don't see that doing it this way would change the character. I know the property pretty well. Properties,
I do too.
potentially. And I think I understand your argument that if we did the line straight across, you're going to have to ask for another variance. So we'll be at 3 instead of 2.
Right. The other thing that the client considered is there's this sort of line of trees here, and we debated whether this line should move to keep all the trees in one parcel and all in the other, and it said, no, we want each building to have its control over the trees that are giving it some sort of screening from 9G, so that's why the line sort of dips around the trees. It would seem odd if the trees that are screening this building from 9G actually were controlled by that. So there was some thought given to this, but it was weighing all those things really to try to hit the thresholds and request as many variance as necessary in order to subdivide the two parcels. This is a large parcel. There's really nothing down here. We're not in an ag district, although I filled out an ag data form, but somebody could hay this area and so forth. But the point is, again, that 9G is a busy through road. Wurtemberg Road is quite different as a quiet sort of country lane, and the buildings are up close to that, and this really is a buffer area. So sort of maintaining this, these are lines basically on paper that you'll never see in reality. It will continue to look much as it does today, regardless of how we draw the lines. So that was the thinking behind it.
Thank you.
Thoughts, concerns? Questions? Okay, I think that there's enough here to accept the application. I'll make a motion that we accept the application. Does anybody have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we need to assign the application. I think I'm actually next up because of the withdrawal of the interpretation I was going to do.
Yeah,
So
got lucky.
dodged a bullet, but I think I'll take this one. I think it's my turn.
Warren or John, quick question. Are there setbacks for wells?
The wells are in existence, right?
Right, well, we're
Yeah.
creating a new line right up against one.
There are setbacks, between wells and septic systems and wells and
course,
houses
yep.
and houses and septic systems. I don't believe there's a setback from property line to a well. If you were doing a new one, you probably wouldn't want it right on your neighbor's property line, but the issue is not the property line so much as structures and septic systems.
Yeah, I don't recall if there's a setback requirement for a well.
There is for septic system. I'm not
From a
aware of
line.
one for well.
Okay. Because if so, probably need another variance.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't think so, but we'll check that.
Okay.
I don't think it shows on this map where the septic is for this property.
For the house, it is here. I don't have the exact location. It's been in existence a long time, whereas the one for the barn is much newer, and that's on file with the county health department. This was probably put in before they even bought the house, but generally where it is in terms of where the waistline comes out of the house and where the tank would be. But it's downhill from the house toward 9G.
Is that something you'd like to, is it a big deal to be able to identify the
It
general
can be,
area?
because most of the time you have to dig them up to know where they are.
Yeah,
so-
okay.
Yeah. It's okay.
Okay. All right, I guess the next order of business is to schedule this for a public hearing, and the next public hearing is October 17th. Warren, can you be here on the 17th?
Sure.
All right, I'd make a motion at this time that we set the public hearing for October 17th, 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay. It's been the recommendation of our council that this application be deemed a Type 2 application under 617.5C12, granting of individual setback and lot line variances, which I agree with. So I make a motion that we deem the application to be a Type 2 action under seeker, specifically under 617.5C12. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. John, did I miss anything?
Just referral to the planning.
That's right, we have referrals. It's obviously going to go to the planning board. We don't need Dutchess County.
Nope.
Okay, and CAB or WAC don't apply as well.
Nope.
So just a referral over to the planning board.
Do you want to do the site visit?
Oh, is it? I mean, typically, we can do them, I'll do it at some point in time, and whoever wants can join me. Assuming, well, we're going to do a site visit, should we go through you, Warren, to set
Sure.
that up?
Yes, sure.
All right. Is it, let me ask you this, is it generally, if I went to the parcel, is it staked out so that I could kind of see, or we could see, where the proposed lot lines are going to be?
It's not, but it can be.
Okay, I think that might be helpful, and
Sure.
you don't have to do it immediately. I typically do my inspection around the public hearing, either before or after. But if there's something that could generally show us where the line is going to be,
I can arrange for that.
that would be great.
Certainly.
Okay,
Very good.
thank you. We'll see you on the 17th.
Thank you.
Okay, the next application is Mulligan. Is anyone here from Mulligan? Are you Mr. Mulligan? All right, Mr. Mulligan, you kind of saw what we're looking for, so please announce yourself, speak clearly, and just tell us generally what you wanted to lead us through the application.
Sure. My name is Jeff Mulligan. I'm the owner of the property in question, which is Sapasco Lot Number 23, which is right on the corner of Center Street and Beach Street in Sapasco Village. We're in the process of planning on building a residence on the lot, and we're seeking two variances for the front setback and the side setback. Both of those setbacks need to be 50 feet because it is a corner lot. So for the front variance, we're looking for a variance of 35 feet from the property line. And on the side of the house, on Beach Street, we're looking for a variance for 22 feet from the property line.
Are the board members familiar with Pasco Village, the area?
Yes, absolutely. We've been out there, I've been out there several times.
Because that's going to be a little bit germane to the application, because, the decision is up to you, but it's in, what's being proposed is in keeping with a lot of what's
Right.
already existing in that.
And it's an existing lot.
Huh?
And it's an existing lot.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly. And it's actually, those lots were, that was a neighborhood that was designed to be the way that it is, so.
Right. And generally, if you want to do anything out there, you need a variance. So it's not,
Yep.
it's like Rhine Cliff. We see it all the
That's a
time.
good analogy.
Okay. John, was there some indication that there might be is this the one where we might need a third variance?
Yes, that came up at the last minute, because of the two front yards. It's listed on the grid, if you see it there. It would be an accessory structure to have the proposed garage in front of a principal dwelling.
Right.
Similar to that application that we just had.
Von Stoddard?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I know what you're saying, though.
You know the one I'm talking about.
Right.
I think it's down Vanderburg Cove.
Okay. Mr. Mulligan, were you advised that it appears that there may be another variance required, which is not a problem. We would just amend the application to include the additional variance.
And the variance is for?
Because your garage is going to be closer to the front, we deem the two streets to be frontage because you have a corner lot. It would be closer to the street than the principal dwelling.
So we just would need to move it back to where the front of the residence, and we're okay?
Well, or you can get a variance. You can request a variance if you want to keep the.
Because I don't have the newest map. I believe the garage actually sets in line with the house, or actually a little bit behind it.
Okay.
Yeah, here, the issue is that you have two front yards.
Okay.
Because you're on the corner. So even though
I
the
understand
garage
now,
is on
it's
the
on the
side
other
of your
side.
house,
Yep.
because your front door faces one way, it's also technically in a front yard from the standpoint of the zoning law. And the zoning law doesn't allow, without a variance, things to be in the front yard in front of the residence. So it's kind of a technicality, but it would be good to cover it. I don't think that, my advice to you would be that, given the nature of the variance that is being requested and the fact that it's a corner lot, it would be pointless to try to make changes to the plan to avoid that. So it's all knitted together with the things that you're going to be considering for the other two variances are going to be the exact same thing for this one.
Well, then you've got, if you move it around to the back, then you got to cross the septic.
Yeah, you've
Yeah,
got,
we can't
they've got very little in the way of options
Right.
for.
The only downside is that because it's another variance, there's another fee for a variance. That's the only downside. I agree with John. It's actually in your best interest, just so we have everything, the Ts crossed and the Is dotted, because, technically it is closer than the principal dwelling
Okay.
to the one street. So
If you talk to Chris, she'll get you squared away, and we'll consider the.
we'll amend the application
application
to
that's
include
amended
that
to include
variance.
that.
Do I need to do that, or you?
We'll take
the
care
board
of
will
it.
do that.
Okay.
So, no, I don't happen to know this area. Is the scale of the house and the distance from the lot lines typical of that area?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
They're modest-sized lots with, houses on it. They're pretty close together. It's kind of a grouping of houses.
Yeah.
Way out on 308, you go out about,
Okay.
5 miles
They
from
were
town. something like-
designed to have sort of the feeling of a village in the area where they are.
Okay.
So we've seen this in the past because things are so close to each other. It may be in, yes, would you like to take it?
I would love to take this.
All right, well, we'll assign it to, I try to accommodate. So Dave will take this one. Do you have, and it may be in here, and I apologize if it is, a rendering of what the house is going to look like?
Not yet.
Okay. I would like to have that, and the reason I ask for that is this. We do like to, a part of the process we have to go through is to see whether granting the variances will change the characteristic of the neighborhood, whether it'll be good for the neighborhood, bad for the neighborhood, neutral, whatever. So I like to see what the structure is going to look like, both structures, the house and the garage. And so if that could be supplied,
Well, we have preliminary plans, but we're
Right.
going back and forth with the architect, so we haven't gotten the latest plans, but I believe what visually you would see from the road is staying the same.
okay,
So I can drop that off to Chris tomorrow. if you'd like.
that would be great. I'd just like to see what the structure's going to look
Sure.
like, because again, we have to, that's one of the factors, one of the 5 factors we have to consider.
Okay, sure.
When we address this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, does anybody else have any questions, concerns?
Just want to
No?
confirm it's this lot here. Isn't it? I'm sorry, is it?
Subject to you providing those renderings of the house and the garage, I'm comfortable with accepting the application with that addition, those additions.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any requests for any additional information on this application? No? Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept the application, subject to receiving that additional information. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, great. Can you be here on October 17th?
Yes.
Okay. We'll have a public hearing, and Chris will take care of the notifications and all that. Supply her with the additional information that we requested. She'll supply it to us. And then again, at the public hearing, you'll basically do the same thing. Your neighbors will be invited to come and give comment, for, against, neutral, whatever. And basically, it's the same process. It's just we get the input potentially from the neighbors.
Okay, sounds good.
All right?
Yep,
Great. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, since we've set the public hearing date as October 17th, or I proposed it, John, I suppose I should have a motion to set the public hearing for October
Yes, please.
17th. So I'll make the motion that this time that we schedule the public hearing on the application for October 17th, 2018. Do I have a second? Second. All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Great. And I believe a recommendation has been made as to the seeker determination on it, on the case, and I can't seem to find my grid. John, do you have that?
I've got an extra grid for you, if you like.
The one I was... Okay.
Featuring the new Tobias design.
Oh, yes.
Which
Oh, is that?
we'll discuss later.
Beautiful.
It actually works very nicely.
Okay, the recommendation is that we classify this application as, again, a Type 2 application under seeker, under 617.5C12, granting of individual setback and lot line variances. I think that is appropriate. So I make a motion that we classify this application as such. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. And we have some referrals.
Only the planning board?
All right. So Chris, you'll take care of that? Okay. All right. The next application is it Lackman, Lotus Energy? Lockman?
Yes, yes.
All right, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Montag of Lotus Solar in Hudson, New York. I'm here representing our clients Gary and Edna Lockman at 20 Haggerty Hill Road. Basically what we're doing here is we're requesting two variances. This is for a ground-mounted solar array. And this is the first variance will be to request the setbacks from the front road from over 1,000 feet to 840 feet. Variance number 2 would be the height of the freestanding solar array from 12 feet to 20 feet.
Okay, one question I had, do you have any renderings showing what the solar array will look like when it's installed? You know, where it'll be on the property and kind of like superimposing it on the property?
I do not have one of it superimposed on the property. I do have factory spec sheets that kind of show the design of the solar array.
Right.
I can hand those out to you guys if you like.
Sure, I think we may have that information. Yeah, there's some in the packet. What I would like to see on these type of applications is what it's going to look like, where it's situated on the property as best you can.
Yep.
Just so we can get a perspective. We're going to do a site visit.
Yep.
But just to see it in relationship to other structures,
I actually do have exactly a site map.
Right.
It's kind of a 2D.
Hard to see.
It's hard to see, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I acknowledge that there is something in your packet that's kind of like that, but really what I want to see is, if I'm walking the property,
Yep.
going up the driveway, where's it going to be, what's it going to look like in relationship to everything else? So we've done that in the past, and I think it'd be helpful here if I could get something like that.
Yep.
That would be my request.
Bring that.
What's the setback requirement for the house on the property? 100 feet from. 100 feet, okay. So this is, the house is 10 times setback.
And just offhand, can you give us a quick opinion about whether you'd be able to see the solars at 20 feet high from the road?
It's a heavily wooded area.
And again, if we have something, we're going to do a site visit, but if we can see that and have something here, that's great. And
You can also, Scott, you can look at the topography. It appears that the topography rises and creates a blockage. Is that, am I reading it right?
Yes, it's a combination of the ridge lines and the fact that
And
it's pretty
heavily forested.
It's also not visible from the property line, from the eastern property line. With one caveat, we have one house that's a slight rise, it's about 50 feet off our property, and I think
Oh, I see,
that
yeah.
when the leaves are down, we can see their lights occasionally when the leaves are down, but it's so broken up that we can't even see the retention of colors. So if they can see anything from their picture window, it would again be so broken up by trees and brush and so on that they'd never be able to assemble it back into the structure.
Although you will have to clear
Okay.
quite a bit of trees for the solar panels.
As a matter of fact, it's being put in an existing field.
Oh.
So there are no trees at all that are going to be removed except maybe to improve light capture for locust trees that are growing in the grove of.
Okay.
And let me guess, you're Mr. Lockman. Okay, well, no, it's welcome, but I just wanted, for the record, to know where the comments were coming from, so welcome, Mr. Lockman. I don't have any further questions. I always like to get the location, where it's going to look, how it's going to look. I know it's not going to be, perfect, but at least it gives me an idea of how the installation is going to look in the field area, where it is in relation to other structures, woods, that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, but we've done that for a client in the past, so it's
Yeah.
not going to be a problem.
okay, so I would request that as part of the application. Do I have any questions, concerns from any of my board members?
The total acreage of this parcel?
262 acres.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns?
No, I think just, as you said, on the renderings of what it will look like, both from kind of the road and also from the nearest adjacent houses.
Absolutely, we can do that. And just for your reference, we do have a stake on the property now. I believe it's still there, correct, Gary?
Yeah, and I was going to ask that, it is staked out. You anticipated my,
Gary, could you come up just so that Panda picks up your comments in the microphone? Thank you. Do the board members have any questions about how the panels will be affixed to the site?
yeah, we know what it's going to look like generally.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
And why is the height 20 feet needed instead of 10 or 15?
Because this is a freestanding pole mount. It's designed to dual axis traffic, moves both east, west, north, and south. So during the winter, it's at a more vertical tilt than it would be during the summer. So basically, that's when you're going to see the highest peak is during the winter. It'll be about 18 to 19 feet high.
Are these raised higher? I mean, could they be
Basically,
lower?
it's just tipped more of a vertical.
Is the bottom of it near the ground?
Yes, yes, about a foot up, between a foot and 2 feet off the ground. And then, it also goes into like a wind mode, it lays flat, when it's laying flat, about 11 feet.
So the pivot point is 11 feet.
Yes.
So the renderings that you do should be in the wintertime.
Yes, I will do the max height.
Maximum
Yes.
height
Yes.
and there'll be the least amount of forestation. Is the forest there evergreen or hardwood?
And so the entire footprint of where this is going to be is staked out?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just ask a quick question. Is this, we've typically seen them lower than 20 feet, more in the line of, I think, 12 feet. And I think that's where Richard was getting at, because I was kind of surprised that the maximum height would be potentially 20 feet, 18, 19, 20 feet. I mean, is it, for lack of a better term, unusual, or is this a standard kind of system that you have?
This is a standard dual axis tracker. Some of them are a little bit wider, but basically they're that height because they're two pivot points. A lot of times when you see a ground mount, it's either stationary in fixed position or it just has a east-west movement, and it does not tilt north or south.
And those are lower.
Yes.
And those are what, about 10?
It depends on, basically entirely on what you design. They can go up to 15, 20 feet as well.
Presumably these are more efficient, they cost more.
Yes, they're up to 45% more efficient than a stationary mount. Because we'll have to use less panels to get the same production as you would with a larger ground mount.
And the reason it's being placed here is that you don't have to remove trees. Is this, in your opinion, the ideal area for this to be mounted?
Yeah, this is the most cleared area on the property without having to go in and remove any trees. It's also in a prime distance for trenching, getting power to the house.
So it's close to that. How close is it?
It's about 400 feet from the house.
Oh, okay.
There's also, I don't know, Gary, if you want to share, there's a conservation easement on the property.
Yes, there is a conservation
So the further development of the property would be affected by that. You may want to mention that.
I do have a letter from the easement saying that they're all right with the plans.
Understood. I'm thinking more along the lines of if board members are thinking ahead to what the potential impacts off-site might be if there were further development of the parcel.
Yeah, this is actually being installed within the same building envelope as the house. So it is within a building envelope, and just to be on the safe side, we checked that they didn't have any objection, and they were concerned with the pattern of trenching, that we wouldn't massacre any of our maple trees. We've laid that out very carefully, so we think we're okay.
Okay. And the lot's not apt to be developed with other lots in the future because of the easement.
It'd be good for us to get that letter as long as you have it.
I think it's in the
in the
application.
packet?
Yeah, I think it's in the packet. I thought I saw it in there,
Okay.
lurking somewhere.
I can copy if anybody needs one.
Well, it's here, it's here. I didn't see it.
Let's see. Yeah, it's about halfway.
Yeah,
Here you go.
conservation easement, got it.
Got it?
Yep, it's an
Okay.
email.
Yeah, it's an email. Any other questions, concerns? Anything you'd like to add?
I think that we're all set.
Okay.
As long as everybody's got a basic understanding of what the array will look like, and I can
Right.
certainly bring those renderings during the
Right.
public hearing.
Yeah, we'd actually, I'd prefer if you could have the renderings to us before then, so I would ask that you have them within a couple of weeks or something so that Chris can get them to us.
Yep.
Great.
Just to manage people's expectation, if we give you pictures of the view from the road or the view from the property line, what you're going to get is pictures of some very beautiful woods and not a solar tracker in sight. We will give you closer to the house so you can understand how it relates to the structures on the property, but it's really not visible from off the property.
Okay.
I can give you one coming down the driveway if you go around the bend. First thing you'll see.
Just to give us an idea of the house, how big it is and kind of where it is on the property and,
Absolutely.
All right. If there aren't any questions, concerns, at this point in time, I'd make a motion to accept the application, subject to receiving the renderings that we've discussed and you've agreed to provide. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, who would like to do this application?
Well, the one I raised my hand for keeps getting delayed, so I can raise my hand for this one.
Well, actually, Tim, it's probably, because you're doing one tonight, right? Catherine, you?
No, Richard and I worked on that one. Richard's reading that one tonight.
Well, don't fight over it, so.
No, I'm fine.
Feel free.
All right, so Catherine,
I haven't done one for a while. I haven't done one
you'll get the
since-
next one, how's that? The hardest one.
No, I want an easy one.
I think they're all about the same, so, all right, Catherine.
Okay.
We'll take this one.
Okay.
Are you able to be here on October 17th?
Yes.
All right. And at this point in time, I'd make a motion that we set the public hearing for October 17th. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, great. Again, council has suggested, upon review, that this application be deemed to be a Type 2 action under 617.5C13, granting of an area variance for a single-family residence. Again, I think that's appropriate, so I will make a motion that we classify this application as a Type 2 action under 617.5C13. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, great. And it looks like if I'm reading this, as far as referrals, John, we need a referral to the the planning board is always. And the WAC, it says here.
I think that may mean the CAB. I can't, this is not in the
Yeah.
coastal zone.
Yeah.
I'll double check that. We'll double check that with Kim in the morning, and we'll send you an email, Chris, if, but I,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
In terms of the site visit, who should I connect with on that?
It's probably more efficient if you call me.
Okay.
Okay.
Otherwise, we make you guys run off for a site visit, and that shouldn't be necessary.
Okay.
Okay.
And
And
phone number is 516-4192.
516-4192. Okay, thank you.
Catherine would like some company.
Oh, I'd love some. Okay, that'd be great.
All right, great, thank you. We'll see you on the 17th.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and the last application is the Kearney application. Good evening.
Good evening.
Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, Brennan Carney. And when I was before the planning board, Michael asked that I identify myself as a town board member.
Okay.
So now you know the truth about me. This is for an existing structure on the property I own at 211 Ackerd Hook Road. I guess this has been about a 4-year process. I was awarded a variance, given a variance 4 years ago to turn the barn into an accessory dwelling. And then, so I went to the planning board, but they have advised me that it has expired. So I'm here again to request a variance so that I can turn this barn existing on the property into an accessory dwelling. This is the main house. This is Ackerd Hook Road along here. When I purchased the property, the barn was in poor condition. It was open to the elements. So after I received the variance, I secured building permits, and I've closed up the building. But now I would like to finish converting it into a dwelling. And Mark Graminsky has an application before the Board of Health for me so that the proper septic can be installed.
Brennan, is this the same application that we
Yeah.
considered
Pretty
4 or
much.
5 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, there's a slightly different, there are less variances requested because Ron Evangelista was our ZA then, and this is Michael Trimble's review of it. And actually, I may, Chris, you could look, I think I've increased the square footage I requested, because when I first requested the variance, my understanding was that I couldn't ask for more than the 900 square feet permitted. But now I understand that I can ask to try to use all of the space, because the building exists. It's there, the siding is there, everything's there. So in this application, I did the sketch so that Michael could tally all of the space, because it seems silly to leave. Yeah, let's see. No, this is my bad. This was me erasing from the old one. The one you rejected.
So you're going from 900 to
1480. Yep.
All right, and
But
was that-
again, there'll be no impact on the neighborhood. It could still only be a one-bedroom because that's all the septic that Mark's been able to design can support. It's just that there's all this usable space in the barn, and it seems silly. There's no barn, there's no farming going on or, anything else. And there's a storage shed, so any storage you need is taken care of in the shed.
Chris, do we have the prior application? Do we have I'd just like to see it.
Not the original?
The original one, yeah, at some
It's in
point
the
in time.
file, though, right?
Not in, the only one that I have is this one, and if it's this one, I just showed you, that's the one? Really?
Well, we should have it somewhere in the building.
I'm sure it is the building.
Yeah, I'd just like to see it.
At the very least, the approval resolution.
Yes, but I'd also like to see what the application was too, I think it might have been. Yeah. I'm sure that Chris can take a look and find it. It's somewhere in the building.
Yeah, Ron, I think, wanted a setback variance. I can't
Well, we'll see.
remember what the
I know
fourth
it was
thing was.
granted. I think, if I'm,
I
memory
think you
serves me
did my
correct-
site visit,
I
maybe.
think I did a site visit.
Yeah.
I remember the curve there.
Right.
And
There's now a hidden drive sign there.
What's that?
There's now a
There's
hidden drive sign now.
And I may have actually done the resolution for all I know. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see what was done previously.
Sure. I didn't include the resolution in here, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, I didn't because Michael's requests were different than Ron's, but
Right.
yeah, it's somewhere. So Chris, if you have any trouble finding it, I'll go digging. I mean, I have piles of paperwork on this thing, and I'm sorry it expired. I thought that if I opened the building permits, it preserved the variance, but the planning board, so I made application to the planning board, and they were like, no, it's expired.
Well, typically, if you start the project within 1 year of the granting of the
I
variance.
did, but not with the planning board. I started close it, like I went to the building department and Ed gave me a permit so that I put a new roof on. I put it, I closed, the thing had gaping, openings in it. I closed it, I installed windows. So I thought that preserved it, but the planning board, when they looked at the application, because I thought that was the next step, said no, that I had to come back here. So I'm happy either way. I can have all those gajillion variances or...
John, I don't think I've ever had the situation, typically, again, if you started within a year, then it's preserved, but I guess it sounds like the argument is you started it, but then maybe you stopped for a while.
No, the argument, I think, was that, at least I think, and we can ask Michael, was that I had not brought it to the planning board. Because Mark Graminsky took so long to file with the Board of Health. And also, I didn't have the money to complete the whole project at once. So, but again, I knew that the variance would expire, and so I tried to preserve it by opening the building permit and going forward with the repair work.
But the repair work is, I'm guessing that the interpretation is that the repair work isn't considered to be in furtherance of the project. I'll find out more about it for the next meeting.
Yeah, I know. For me, it's a case of first impression, but it just seems odd that because you started it within the year, but there was maybe a lapse of time before you completed it, that, you have to come back to us and request the same variance
I know,
again.
I'm happy to do, I'm happy to withdraw it, I'm happy to do
No,
whatever.
no, I mean, we're going to keep it.
Right, keep it, no, I know, keep it right now, but if,
But we'll explore whether
sure.
it's even required.
Yeah, we'll run that down and then check it out.
It's an interesting question.
We'll give the board a recommendation. It'd be a good thing to know anyway.
Although maybe I need it anyway, since I want to increase the square footage and use the whole barn as opposed to.
And that's why I
Because
wanted-
I'm positive the old one approved the 900 square feet.
Okay. And that's why I wanted to see the
Yes.
old application. So
Yep.
if there is a change, then you do need a new application.
I think then that at least one of these is still,
Okay,
because I'd like to go ahead and use the whole footprint because it's there, it sits on the property,
gotcha.
you
Well,
know.
that's dispositive. and-
That ends it right there,
Okay,
yeah.
so there we go.
So,
And I'm sorry, the first variance decrease in lot size from the required 5 to 2, that, I mean, it's really, I don't know, it seems poorly worded, but really what you're asking is that, what we're saying is that the allowance for a second residence
Exactly,
happened
right,
unless it's on 5 acres.
exactly. So I need a variance to allow it on the 2.
You're not changing the size of the lot.
No, I'm a pre-existing,
Yep.
and structurally, I mean, the building's the same.
nothing is changing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, it's just the exact same footprint, I just,
Okay.
yep.
Any other questions, concerns, comments?
What is the zoning?
RC5,
She's
RC5.
subsized.
yeah, a lot of us are over there.
Right. And you could have a second dwelling if you were correctly
Yes,
sized.
if I were 5
that's
acres,
the
because I'm a
change.
5-acre zone, I would have it as of right, but
Right.
I'm substandard. You know, when the new zoning came in 2009, my property is too small now.
Yep.
I know it's, I'm sorry.
John, is that otherwise known as multifamily dwelling? In other words, if there was 5 acres, an RC5 could have 2 separate dwelling units?
Well, this is for an accessory dwelling.
But you're gonna rent it out?
I can only rent it out if I reside on the property, is my understanding. At the time that I made the first application, I resided there. In the 4.5 years since then, I purchased the house and I live here in the village. So if the barn is ever rented out, I have to move back to Ackerd Hook, which is what I'd like to do if I can ever get this approved, which is my own fault for dragging my heels.
Said another way, would not one of the requirements be that you live there?
I think it is, yes. That I live,
But you don't.
but if I rent it out, I will.
Well, we can't keep track of that.
But
Why
wait-
can't you?
But wait a minute, you could have an accessory dwelling and not rent it out.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not that I can't, I don't think it prohibits me from applying for it. It just means, though, that legally it can't be rented out if I'm not there. And I may be wrong about that, John, you tell me, but that's.
I don't know offhand,
I've
yeah.
understood this in many different ways, depending who was the ZA and all kinds of stuff.
I haven't heard that before, but
I have not heard that before either. Just to be nosy.
Yeah. Why?
What, huh?
Why?
Why? I'm just curious.
My kids are at Oakwood Friends Schools as of last week.
No, what,
Tuition.
what's the purpose of the, oh, no, not why you didn't
Oh, okay.
complete
It's
it.
like, that's
No,
why.
I don't care about your finances. I apologize. What I was wondering about is what's going on with the property now and what do you intend to do with it as,
Yeah.
going forward?
So right now, the main house is rented out.
Okay.
And the barn, I have a vintage and antiques business, and so it is chock full of stuff. A lot of stuff. Although I had a yard sale this weekend, I got rid of some of it. Because it's enclosed now, it's,
Right.
it has a wood stove, but it can't be, there's no septic. There's water, there was always water going into it.
And is the proposed living space, is this a 2-story barn?
Part of it is. So if you look at the pictures.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid I don't have the pictures in my packet.
I just have I don't have
The
colors.
photos. Right, okay, so this part is two-story,
Right.
just over what I'd like to be the main
Okay.
kitchen and dining, and then I would put the living room up here. But here, it's not, it's just a pitched.
Okay, so the living space will be
Would be
using,
above.
it'll be using both floors?
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
okay. And maybe what you did in the prior application was keep it on the first floor? Yeah, but...
Yeah, we'll find
okay.
out.
Okay.
Going back to accessory structures which are allowed, this is a separate living structure.
Yes.
Yes, that's why it needs septic.
You know, I'm going from a different direction. You're allowed one-family house, you're allowed a two-family house, you're allowed a three-family house. Once it's approved and they're built, that's what's there. No one keeps track of it after that. It's not in the deed. The town doesn't go around checking on who has two families, who has one family, what's grandfathered in, what's not. You know, so it has to be clear with the approval as to if it's a two-family property, it's a two-family property.
Well, it can't be two primary residences. So accessory, the definition of accessory is that it's subordinate to the primary use. So if you think of this issue is part of what was colored the debate in the wheel application. Remember the folks that wanted to turn their existing primary residence into an accessory residence.
Yeah, right.
And so it's on the same lot, in that case, it was a whole nother full-size house.
Yes, it is.
So this is along the same lines, that, it's a second residential dwelling on the property, but it's an accessory. I mean, if you want me to do some research for you and
I'd be curious about the rule that you have to...
Reside there.
Well, and again, I may be misspeaking. That information is 4 years old from Ron Evangelista.
Yeah. No, I just, I guess clarity around having an accessory...
give you something short.
Could you
on-
request an accessory dwelling if you were a landlord and never intended
Yep,
to move back
yep.
there?
See,
I'll
I
give you
thought-
something short just on the four corners of what
Okay.
today's zoning law says on accessory dwellings on the
Yeah,
same
but-
lot.
But even if you live there, we made that applicant
Yeah,
have
there
certain
were some
hurdles,
there were
which two
contingencies
members
there.
differed with the others on.
Yeah.
Now we're back, again, we set a precedent, now we're here with this applicant, we have to try to be more uniform in what we do. And is it for us to make?
Yeah, there are good questions for you to have the answers to before we go into the public hearing. We'll do a piece for you before the next meeting, and should be all set.
John,
We can
can I
share that
also
with-
see, because I'd love to know
we'll share
what
it
I'm
with
supposed to be
Brennan,
doing and what I'm not.
Everybody will be playing off of the same sheet music.
And what's the square footage of the primary house?
It's about 1,000 square feet. It's funny, on this, it looks bigger than the barn, but it's not.
Yeah.
If you look at them from the row of, the footprint's about the same, but that second story, the house is a one-story house.
Yeah.
So it's that second story over part of the barn that takes the footage up.
So it says it's on the parcel access, it says the house is 1248.
Oh, well, maybe I have more than I thought I did.
Yeah.
And John, also, if you could address the zoning district RC5 as it relates to an RC5. I mean, if
Okay.
it's one-family zoning, then it's one-family zoning. If it's two-family or multifamily, that's different. I understand it's an accessory structure. But
Any other questions, concerns?
I think I understand what you want to do. I think most of our questions seem to be around clarity on the zoning law.
Yeah.
All right, again, I'd like to get the first application, so you'll provide that to us. All right. I have a pretty good idea of what you want to do,
Yep.
since this is It's like deja vu all over
I
again.
know, sorry.
Well,
So-
not exactly.
Not exactly,
She's
but-
going to get more room out of the
Yeah, there's going to
new
get,
variance if it's granted.
Well, that's,
so.
that's why I figured if I had to come back, I might as well use the whole thing
Right.
instead of the part of it.
but it's similar, as I recollect, to the first application, except for the size increase.
I mean, the other thing is, if we wanted to use the old one, if we could make an argument that it's still valid, I could step back the size.
No,
I mean,
you can't, because well, it's up to you if you wanted to step back the size, but I think,
If Michael
just-
says
let's
it has
just-
to come here, then I
let's
think it has to.
let's just leave it the way it
Sure,
is, okay?
that's fine with me.
So, leaving it the way it is, I make a motion to accept the application as complete. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? October 17th, can you be here?
Yep, I'll be here.
Okay.
And my phone number's on, my cell number's here if you all want to come out, whoever's coming out.
Okay. Tim, would you be so kind as to accept this case?
All right, so
And I'll make a motion at this point in time that we set the public hearing for October 17th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right, carried. So we'll see you here on the 7th.
Terrific. Thank you all very
And we'll have a little bit more information.
yeah, we'll try to do this again.
Great. Now, on recommendation of our council, as far as the secret determination, the recommendation is to make this a type 2 action under 617.5C13, granting of an area variance for a single-family residence. Again, I think that's appropriate. I make a motion that we do, in fact, consider this to be a type 2 action under 617.5C13. Do I have a second?
I think that's brilliant. I second the motion.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. And referrals, planning board, and nothing else?
That's correct.
All right.
And site visit is Tim and Scott?
Yeah,
Oh.
I'll go. No, I should go out on this because I was very
Figured
involved in the
since you
first.
did it last.
Yes, yes. And Tim, you and I will coordinate going out there. All right. All right. That takes care of all the new business for this evening. We did have a public hearing on the Brown matter, but they asked that it be postponed to October 17th, and I believe that has been done. So Chris, the Brown matter's over until the 17th?
Yes.
All right. And that's at the request of the applicant. Also, just before just as a matter of cleaning things up, one thing I overlooked is that we did have a case number 968 Hudson Valley Rhinebeck LLC Rockledge. That was an interpretation, and that was officially withdrawn. And we have a letter, so that's gone. All right, the only thing left, as far as I can tell from the agenda, is old business, and that would be the Van Meteren or Boyland resolution. And whoever wants to take us through it, take us.
This application was in front of the planning board on Monday night,
Okay,
and the planning board granted the approvals that were sought from the applicant, only contingent upon this board granting the variances that have been sought at tonight's meeting.
okay.
Resolution by Rhinebeck ZBA. The matter of Van Meteren, ZBA case 967. Applicant is Terrence Boylan, representing the owner, Ileana Van Meteren. This is an appeal from the building inspector's denial letter of June 19, 2018. Thank you. Property involved, this appeal involves property located at 631 River Road in Rhinebeck, parcel number 607100910580, pursuant to a survey by J. Charles Bolucas dated January 21st, 2010.
The total property is 683 plus or minus acres, and it's in the Historic Preservation 20 zoning district, HP 20 zone. The owner is represented by Terrence Boylan and Christina Ducharme, architect, before the ZBA. The applicant's project is to change an existing, it's an accessory structure by basically replacing a rear wing. The wing's north wall is rotten and is in need of repair and replacement. The proposed change will replace this wall and add a new kitchen, plumbing, and eating living area, resulting in a structure that will be approximately, whoops, that should be 4,000. Oh, my goodness. 4,000.
Too many 41,000 square foot.
No,
No, no. I'll tell you.
And how many of us read
The applicant requires one area variance for a total of 4,105 square feet, adding 1,732 square feet to the existing 2,373. Resulting in the variance of 2,905 square feet, because Rhinebeck Code requires that a detached accessory dwelling unit shall contain no more than 1,200 square feet of habitable space in that zone. The appellant filed an appeal with this board in July of 2018, paid the fee. It was filed within 60 days, and it's timely as required by the zoning code. On July 18th, the board deemed the application to be complete and accepted it for review. The SECRA acceptance and designation, 6 NYCRR, section 617.5C13, and no further review is required. Referrals, Dutchess County Planning Board was not applicable. The Rhinebeck Planning Board was applicable, and on July 18th, the Town Planning Board responded on August 17th, recommending that the ZBA rely on its own study and the facts in deciding the application. However, it was indicated this evening that the Planning Board, John, did, I think earlier this week on Monday, approve that application, so maybe we'll add that sentence in. Town of Rhinebeck Conservation Advisory Board, not required. The Rhinebeck Waterfront Advisory Committee was required, and there was a referral, and this matter was referred on July 18th to the WAC, and there was a response on August 8th indicating that they do not have any concerns. Site visit on August 19th. Last month, the ZBA members Richard Macaluso, Catherine Clark visited the property and the surrounding neighborhood to observe firsthand on-site conditions, property characteristics, settings, surrounding environment, and the character of the surrounding neighborhood. The purpose of this visit was to observe the property and surrounding area and to inform the board members for the upcoming decision. The site visit was conducted solely to gather information, and no business or deliberations were made. The public hearing on the appeal was duly advertised and was held on August 15th. There were no comments from any members of the public during that public hearing. Findings of fact and conclusions. Balancing test. In our review of the variance sought, we have considered the benefit to the applicant if the area variance is granted as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community. By such grant, we determined that the variance requested should be granted because there is no discernible detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by granting this variance. Consideration of the five-factor balancing test. In our review of the variance sought, we have considered the five factors required by 125-124C1 of the town zoning code. A, if the variance is granted, will it cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties? We find the answer to this question is no. The location of the project is a significant distance from the road and would not be visible from the road for most of the year. The impact from the variance will not be visible to nearby properties. It is a minimal change or variance.
can the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance? We find the answer is yes, the applicant could build a smaller addition by maintaining the existing footprint and just replace the existing kitchen and bath. It should be noted that the structure in its current state is larger than allowed by code and therefore non-conforming, so that even reducing the scale of the project to the current footprint would not bring the detached accessory dwelling unit to the allowable 1,200 square feet. Is the area variance requested substantial? We find the answer is no, although the square footage number 2905 in isolation seems significant taken in the context of a 680-foot acre property and the location of the subject project, which is a considerable distance from public roads and other dwellings. The variance requested is not considered substantial. Will the proposed variance have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or the district? We find the answer is no. The proposed addition in both style and scale will complement the existing structure. It is entirely in keeping with other structures in the neighborhood, many of which are farmhouses that have been updated and enlarged beyond their original footprint. Is the alleged difficulty self-created? The answer is yes. It would be possible to construct desired services, kitchen and bath within the current footprint. The proposed addition is a matter of preference rather than demonstrated need. Minimal variance requested. In addition to our review of the 5 factors and balancing tests, we must also determine if the requested variance represents the minimum necessary and adequate to accomplish what is requested by the applicant, and that also preserves and protects the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community. We find the answer to this question is yes. The addition to the house is expected to enhance the value of the property and extend the life of the existing farmhouse. There appears to be no detriment to the neighborhood and support for existing property values in the historical overlay based on upgraded and well-maintained structure. The plan maintains the feel of the original farmhouse, which is in keeping with the district. The result of the balancing test, based on our analysis of the 5 factors discussed above and in consideration of the minimal variance requested, we find that the balancing test favors granting the area variance sought. Now, therefore, be it resolved. Section 1, the ZBA hereby grants the applicant 1 area variance from the limitation on the detached accessory dwelling units containing no more than 1,200 square feet of habitable space. Applicant is requesting 4,105 square feet, resulting in a variance of 2,905 square feet set forth in paragraphs 1 through 6, area variance of the zoning code in code section 12527. The board finds that the benefit to the applicant outweighs any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such a grant. Our decision is supported by a balancing of the factors discussed above. The ZBA hereby grants the variance from the zoning code 12527, subject to the conditions stated below. The granting of the variance does not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other required permits and/or approvals. The area variance shall be null and void unless the proposed addition is commenced within 1 year of this resolution. The granting of this variance shall also be expressly contingent upon the applicant's full payment of any and all fees and escrow deposits due in connection with the application and full compliance with Rhinebeck zoning law. The variance shall not be deemed granted until all such fees are paid in full by the applicant. I guess, is there any discussion on the resolution?
Now, this was resolved, section 1.
Right.
I think what you intend to say is not outweighs detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood, but what you really mean is it's not outweighed by detriment to the health, safety, and welfare.
That the benefit to the applicant outweighs. So it should be, the board finds that the benefit
is
to the...
not outweighed by detriment.
Right. Thank you. I agree. Benefit to the applicant is not outweighed by any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant.
John, let me get that language again. You're saying, is that in
That's-
section 1?
It's the last sentence in section 1, or I'm sorry, the second to last.
Yeah, 15, section 1.
It's still not quite
In other words,
Yeah.
the test is saying that the benefit to the applicant and
Right.
detriment, so that in order to grant the variance, the detriment has to be less.
Right, and the board finds that the benefit to the applicant. The board finds that the benefit to the applicant outweighs any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community.
But is that what we want to say, or do we want to say
That's
the
not-
board finds that there are no significant detriments to the health, safety, and
I
welfare?
think that would be better. That would be
That's
clear.
better, because, yeah.
Because we don't
Because that
really know
really-
or care what the benefit
Yeah,
is.
we're trying to say the same thing, but that's really what your finding is.
Right, there is no significant detriment.
There is no
to public
significant,
health
and
safety.
there isn't. I mean,
Right.
the applicant, so I'd prefer that kind of.
Okay.
So what was the agreed upon phrase?
I'll read it. The board finds that there is no significant detriment to the health, safety, welfare of the neighborhood
In granting this variance.
Yeah.
or community by such grant.
That's
Yeah.
it, that does it.
Chris, did you just get on the very last line? It's full instead of fully.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, Richard, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to pass this resolution.
Second?
All right. Would you poll the board, please?
Kim Alpha,
Aye.
Scott Bergen,
Yes.
Yes.
Dave Wyatt.
Yes.
Kathy Fox.
Yes.
Okay, passed. All right, that's all the business that's on the agenda. John, is there anything else that we need to discuss?
What's the Rock Veg one? Is that,
That's
It's gone.
withdrawn.
that's gone, okay.
Yeah, they withdrew the application, or the interpretation.
Okay.
The only thing is to say that, two things quickly. One is that, as you can see, we tried out Dave's suggestion on the grid, and Kim and I really like it, and if the board members agree, we'd like to proceed. I don't think so, but that we'll use that format in the future.
I don't care.
Anybody, you don't care?
I don't
No?
care.
I think it's better.
It's much easier to read, I think.
Okay.
I think it's the same. Well, no, to me, they're the same. I had, so,
All right, well,
this is a democracy, whatever the majority wants.
Do you think you could put it on the case number?
we can do that, sure.
You usually know it by the time you're writing this up, right?
Okay, we can do that. And the second thing is, the other suggestion that was made by the board was Kim's revised the template to make it read smoother and faster. We really tried to clean out as much language as we could to just sort of tighten it up a little bit. So anyway, that's in your basket, I think, just yesterday. So if you'd take a look at that and let us know what you think. I think she gave you a red line version. so
She did.
You can see the changes. If you, we can discuss it at the next meeting, but if you like it, we can start shifting to using the new template. That's it.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We're out of here.
Members